The air within the hive hummed with a low, constant vibration, a gentle thrumming against the waxen walls. Dust motes, illuminated by the filtered sunlight, drifted lazily through the honeycombs like tiny golden stars. A faint scent of wildflowers lingered, carried on the subtle currents of warm air rising from the brood cells. The temperature remained steady, a comforting warmth that permeated every corner of their busy world. Tiny droplets of moisture condensed on the inner surfaces, reflecting the soft light in miniature shimmering pools. A single bee paused momentarily near a cell overflowing with nectar, antennae twitching gently. The rhythmic scraping sounds of bees cleaning cells echoed softly, a quiet and predictable melody. Outside, the late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the meadow, barely noticeable within the hive's dimness. A slight shift in the air indicated a new batch of foragers returning with their precious cargo. The golden honey deepened in color as enzymes slowly transformed it, growing richer and more viscous. A faint warmth radiated from the cluster of bees tending to the brood, a comforting pulse within the hive's structure. The scent of beeswax mingled with the sweetness of honey, creating an enveloping aroma that settled deep in the air. Dust motes danced lazily in the few shafts of light filtering through the entrance, illuminated by the fading sun. A tiny tremor ran through the honeycomb as a worker bee adjusted its position, barely perceptible to any observer. The temperature within the hive remained constant, a steady embrace against the cooling air outside. Nearby, a small group of bees meticulously polished the hexagonal walls, ensuring their smooth perfection. A subtle hum resonated throughout the colony, a collective sigh of contented industry. The honey's fragrance intensified slightly as it matured further, releasing more delicate floral notes. Each cell held its precious offering, gleaming softly in the subdued light like tiny jewels. A gentle breeze stirred the air near the hive entrance, carrying with it the scent of wildflowers from afar. Dust motes danced lazily in the shafts of light, filtering through the honeycomb. The temperature within the hive remained consistently warm, a comforting embrace against the cool evening air outside. A single droplet of nectar slowly slid down the side of a cell, reflecting the soft glow. Further back within the structure, larvae slumbered peacefully, nestled in their wax cradles. The breeze at the entrance shifted slightly, bringing with it a whisper of damp earth and moss. A tiny spider spun a delicate web between two honeycombs, its work almost invisible. The collective hum deepened subtly, as if the bees were collectively breathing in unison. Tiny crystals began to form on the surface of some cells, adding a subtle shimmer. Outside, the last rays of sunlight faded completely, leaving only a soft twilight glow. A faint scent of ripening pears drifted in from the surrounding meadows. The twilight deepened to a soft lavender, barely distinguishable from the shadows within the hive. A single dewdrop clung to the edge of one honeycomb, reflecting the faint light like a miniature pearl. The air grew slightly cooler, carrying with it the quiet stillness of approaching night. Dust motes danced lazily in the remaining pockets of dimness, illuminated by unseen sources. A gentle tremor ran through the structure, barely perceptible but felt as a soothing vibration. The scent of pears mingled now with the subtle sweetness from the honey itself, creating a comforting aroma. Some of the bees nestled deeper into their cells, their movements slow and deliberate. Tiny flecks of pollen drifted down like golden snow, settling softly on the honeycomb surfaces. A low, resonant tone pulsed through the hive, a quiet song of rest and contentment. The crystals on the cell walls grew ever so slightly larger, catching the light in new ways. The air within the hive felt heavier, a gentle pressure against unseen wings. A faint warmth radiated from the clustered bodies of the bees, like tiny embers glowing softly. Dust motes danced in the filtered sunlight that reached the deeper chambers. The resonant hum shifted almost imperceptibly, deepening into a richer vibration. Minute droplets of moisture formed on the underside of some honeycomb sections. A single bee slowly extended an antenna, tasting the air with quiet curiosity. The golden snow of pollen continued its descent, blanketing the wax in a delicate layer. Shadows lengthened slightly as the sun dipped lower beyond the hive's entrance. The crystals on the cell walls shimmered with a pearly luminescence. A feeling of profound stillness settled over everything, a quiet embrace. A faint warmth lingered near the honeycomb, a residual echo of the day's sun. The air grew subtly thicker, carrying the scent of honey and warm wax. Tiny motes of dust danced in the fading light, suspended like miniature stars. Deep within the hive, a gentle hum resonated, a lullaby of slumbering bees. Each cell held its precious cargo, secure and undisturbed in the deepening twilight. The pearly luminescence intensified slightly, reflecting off the smooth surfaces. A soft breeze whispered through the entrance, barely stirring the pollen dust. The shadows deepened further, blurring the edges of the hexagonal architecture. A single droplet of nectar clung to a cell's edge, shimmering like a tiny pearl. Everything seemed to soften, rounding into gentle curves and muted tones. The air grew subtly warmer, a comforting embrace against the stillness. A faint hum resonated deep within the structure, too low to be heard consciously. Dust motes danced lazily in the pearly light, tracing slow spirals. The hexagonal cells seemed to breathe with an almost imperceptible rhythm. Further back, a cluster of larger formations pulsed with a gentle inner glow. A delicate fragrance, reminiscent of warm honey and damp moss, drifted through the space. The breeze shifted slightly, carrying with it the faintest trace of something floral. Tiny crystalline structures began to form on some surfaces, catching the light like frost. The pearly luminescence now had a subtle lavender undertone, deepening the sense of peace. A feeling of profound tranquility settled over everything, a quiet invitation to rest. The crystalline formations grew ever so slowly, resembling miniature geodes clinging to the surfaces. A soft hum resonated deep within the space, too low to be heard consciously, yet felt as a gentle vibration. Dust motes danced lazily in the lavender light, swirling patterns shifting with the imperceptible currents of air. The warmth intensified slightly, not uncomfortably so, but like being enveloped in a comforting embrace. Shadows elongated and softened, blurring the edges of everything into gentle gradients. A faint shimmer appeared on the floor, reflecting the pearly luminescence with an ethereal quality. The scent of honey deepened subtly, mingling now with a whisper of ripe berries. Minute pulses of light emanated from within the crystalline structures, like tiny breathing stars. The air itself seemed to thicken, becoming almost tangible in its stillness and peace. A sense of timelessness settled over the space, erasing any awareness of past or future. The pearly light softened further, diffusing into a gentle haze that blurred the edges of everything. A warmth began to radiate from the floor, not hot but comforting like sun-warmed stones. Dust motes previously unseen drifted lazily in the luminous air, each one catching and reflecting the soft glow. The crystalline structures hummed with a resonance so low it was felt rather than heard, a gentle vibration against the skin. A new fragrance emerged, reminiscent of warm chamomile blossoms steeped in moonlight. The stillness deepened. Even the faintest sound seemed to absorb into the pervasive quietude. Shadows elongated and softened, pooling gently beneath the crystalline formations like liquid night. The air tasted faintly sweet, a delicate blend of floral notes and something akin to vanilla bean. A sense of weightlessness settled in, as if gravity itself were taking a momentary pause. Tiny silver threads appeared to weave through the haze, shimmering with an internal light. The silver threads coalesced, forming patterns that resembled drifting dandelion seeds. A warmth began to emanate from the crystalline structures, a gentle pulse against the cool air. The sweet fragrance intensified slightly, now carrying a whisper of ripe pear. Dust motes danced lazily within the shimmering haze, illuminated by the thread's soft glow. The pooling shadows shifted imperceptibly, their edges blurring further into nothingness. A low hum resonated through the space, so subtle it was felt more than heard. The sensation of weightlessness deepened, comforting embrace rather than an absence. New patterns emerged within the crystalline formations, swirling designs, like frost on glass. The air grew even stiller, holding its breath in anticipation of something undefined. A faint luminescence began to bloom from within the silver threads themselves. The luminescence pulsed softly, a gentle rhythm mirroring the quiet beat of a distant heart. Dust motes illuminated by the silver glow danced in slow, lazy spirals. A warmth spread through the stillness, not hot, but like basking in the late afternoon sun. The crystalline structures seemed to soften at the edges, their sharp angles blurring into gentle curves. Tiny sparks of light detached from the threads and floated upwards, dissolving into the surrounding haze. An almost imperceptible shift occurred in the air's density. It felt thicker, yet lighter simultaneously. The low hum deepened slightly, resonating with a newfound richness, like a cello's sustained note. A sense of profound peace settled over everything, an absence of worry or striving. The swirling patterns within the crystals began to elongate, resembling delicate ribbons unfurling. A subtle fragrance arose, not floral, nor earthy, but something akin to warm stone and quiet rain. The light filtering through the crystalline structures softened further, taking on a pearlescent quality. A gentle warmth emanated from the floor beneath, like sun-warmed sand after a cool evening breeze. Tiny motes of luminescence drifted lazily in the air, resembling miniature stars suspended in twilight. The cello's resonance deepened again, now interwoven with the whisper of something akin to distant chimes. A feeling of being held, cradled by an unseen force, permeated every inch of space. The ribbons within the crystals continued their slow unfurling, revealing intricate patterns like frost on a window pane. The scent of warm stone and quiet rain mingled with a new note, a faint suggestion of polished wood. A stillness settled not just in the air, but also within one's own thoughts, silencing even the most fleeting notions. The edges of vision blurred slightly, as if gently veiled by a soft mist. Each breath felt deeper and more complete than before, drawing in tranquility with every exhale. A subtle warmth radiated from the crystals, not hot, but a comforting presence against the skin. The faint scent of polished wood deepened slightly, layered with an underlying sweetness like dried lavender. Dust motes previously unseen drifted lazily in the diffused light, tracing slow circles. A low hum resonated through the space, so quiet it was felt more than heard, a gentle vibration against bone. The blurring at the edges of vision shifted from gray to a soft pearlescent white. Tiny flecks of silver shimmered within the crystals, like distant stars reflected in still water. The feeling of stillness expanded outwards, encompassing not just thoughts, but also physical sensations. A gentle pressure eased into the eyelids, encouraging their descent further. The air grew heavier, not oppressively so, but with a comforting density, like sinking into down feathers. An almost imperceptible shift in temperature occurred, a barely noticeable cooling that felt strangely soothing. A low hum, deeper than any sound you'd normally notice, resonated gently within the space. The crystalline structure seemed to soften at the edges, their sharp points rounding into gentle curves. Dust motes, illuminated by the internal light of the crystals, drifted lazily downwards like miniature snowflakes. A subtle fragrance arose, not floral or fruity, but reminiscent of cool stone and quiet earth. The pressure on your limbs deepened slightly, a comforting weight that eased any lingering tension. Each breath became longer, slower, drawing in the heavy, tranquil air with effortless ease. Faint patterns began to appear within the silver flecks, resembling swirling nebulae far beyond reach. A sense of complete detachment from your body blossomed, a feeling of simply being without needing to do anything. The cooling sensation intensified just enough to be noticed, like resting against smooth river stones. Even the awareness of your own breathing began to fade into the background, becoming one with the stillness. The silver flecks now seemed to pulse with a gentle, internal light, like distant stars reflected on water. A low hum resonated within the stillness, not audible exactly, but felt as a vibration deep inside. The cooling sensation shifted subtly, now carrying a faint trace of damp earth and moss. Edges softened. The boundaries between awareness and nothingness blurred into an indistinct haze. Thoughts, if they could even be called that anymore, drifted by like silent clouds across a vast sky. A sense of weightlessness deepened, as though anchored to something far beyond gravity's pull. The air itself seemed to thicken slightly, becoming almost tangible against the skin, a comforting pressure. Colors began to bleed into one another, soft blues merging with muted greens and gentle violets. A quiet warmth bloomed in the center of your awareness, radiating outwards like sunshine through fog. The feeling of being expanded further, encompassing everything and nothing simultaneously. A distant melodic hum resonated within the warmth, too low to be heard but felt as a gentle vibration. The edges of your awareness softened further, losing any sense of boundaries or definition. Tiny motes of light, like drifting embers, appeared and disappeared within the colored haze. A subtle shift in temperature occurred. The warmth deepened without becoming hot, remaining consistently soothing. The comforting pressure against your skin eased slightly, transitioning into a gentle embrace. Thoughts, if they could even be called that anymore, drifted by like silent clouds across an endless sky. A sense of profound stillness settled over everything, a quietude deeper than any silence you'd ever known. The colors continued to swirl and blend, now incorporating shades of pale rose and soft amber. An impression of vastness arose, not frightening or overwhelming, but simply expansive. A feeling akin to returning home bloomed within the expanding warmth, a place you'd always known. The amber deepened slightly, taking on a honeyed glow that seemed to emanate from within. A gentle warmth pulsed outwards, not hot but like the sun resting on your skin after a long day. Tiny motes of light, like drifting dust, began to coalesce and separate with languid grace. The feeling of home intensified, accompanied by an echo of contentment you couldn't quite place. A subtle shift occurred. The expansive space felt less empty, more cushioned. The rose hues softened further, blending seamlessly into a pearlescent white at the edges. An almost imperceptible vibration resonated through everything, a lullaby hummed by the universe itself. It wasn't a sound you heard, but a feeling of resonance that settled deep within your core. The swirling colors began to slow their dance, becoming more like gentle waves than vibrant currents. A sense of complete safety enveloped you, as if held in an embrace without boundaries. Tiny motes of light, like drifting stardust, appeared within the white expanse. The gentle vibration deepened slightly, a comforting weight against your eyelids. A warmth spread through your limbs, easing any lingering tension from the day. The pearlescent glow seemed to pulse with a rhythm mirroring your own breathing. Faint patterns began to emerge within the white, not shapes, but textures of light. A subtle fragrance arose, reminiscent of warm milk and sun-baked lavender fields. The feeling of being held expanded further, encompassing every part of you. Each breath felt lighter, easier than the last, drawing in peace with every inhale. The swirling waves of color now resembled soft clouds drifting across a tranquil sky. A quiet stillness settled around you, deeper and more profound than any silence. The clouds shifted, revealing glimpses of a pale apricot glow behind them. A gentle warmth spread through your limbs, like sinking into freshly laundered linen. Tiny motes of light began to dance within the swirling colors, resembling drifting stardust. The feeling of being held deepened, becoming less defined and more like merging with everything around you. A distant chime, soft as a dream, resonated briefly before fading into nothingness. The air grew subtly thicker, yet remained incredibly breathable, almost velvety against your skin. You noticed the absence of any sensation beyond pure comfort. Even the awareness of your own body began to soften. A sense of boundless space unfolded within you, vast and quiet as a star-filled night. The apricot glow intensified slightly, painting the clouds with hues of rose quartz and peach blossom. Each exhalation released any lingering tension, leaving behind only an exquisite lightness. A low, resonant hum vibrated gently through the space, too subtle to be heard but felt as a comforting pulse. The apricot glow deepened slightly, now laced with strands of pale gold that seemed to drift and rearrange themselves. Tiny motes of light, like miniature stars, began to coalesce within the soft radiance, swirling in slow, silent patterns. A feeling akin to floating emerged, not a movement exactly, but an absence of weight, a gentle suspension. The clouds shifted imperceptibly, their edges blurring into the surrounding luminescence with graceful fluidity. A warmth spread outwards from your core, like sunshine filtering through layers of silk. The resonant hum seemed to synchronize with your breathing, deepening each exhale and smoothing each inhale. New shades of lavender and periwinkle appeared within the cloud formations, blending seamlessly into the peach tones. There was a sense of being cradled, not by anything tangible, but by the very essence of tranquility itself. The light pulsed with an even gentler rhythm now, like the slow beat of a distant heart. The distant mountains, previously a hazy outline, softened further into the background glow. A gentle breeze stirred, carrying with it the faintest scent of damp earth and blooming night, jasmine. Tiny silver motes began to drift within the luminous cloudscape, like silent wishes released into the air. The feeling of weightlessness deepened, as if gravity itself were taking a quiet rest. A subtle shift in temperature occurred. The air grew just a touch warmer against your skin. The resonant hum seemed to expand outwards, encompassing not just your body but the entire space around you. New patterns emerged within the peach tones, swirling eddies of rose and gold, like liquid light. A sense of complete safety settled over you, an unspoken promise of peaceful rest. The rhythmic pulsing of the light slowed even further, becoming almost imperceptible. Your thoughts drifted away like dandelion seeds on a summer breeze, dissolving into stillness. The air grew subtly warmer, a gentle embrace against your skin. A faint scent of lavender drifted in, carried on an unseen current. Dust motes danced lazily within the peach light, suspended and serene. The soft texture beneath you seemed to deepen, cradling you with quiet comfort. A distant chime, barely audible, resonated with a soothing clarity. The feeling of weightlessness intensified, as if gravity itself were taking a rest. Tiny shifts in the light revealed deeper shades of apricot and cream. Each breath felt effortless, expanding and releasing with gentle ease. A quiet stillness settled within your limbs, a peaceful surrender to slumber. The world outside faded further away, becoming an indistinct memory. A faint warmth now radiated from the soft blankets, a comforting embrace against the cool air. The distant hum of evening settled into an even quieter resonance, barely perceptible now. Dust motes danced lazily in the dwindling light, suspended like tiny stars in a vast expanse. The scent of lavender deepened slightly, mingling with the subtle fragrance of aged wood. A gentle breeze stirred the curtains, creating a slow, rhythmic sway. Thoughts drifted away like clouds across a pale blue sky, losing their shape and form. The edges of your awareness softened, blurring the distinction between self and surroundings. A sense of quiet contentment filled every corner of your being, a gentle warmth spreading outwards. The rhythmic rise and fall of your chest became the only noticeable movement in the room. Even the faintest sounds seemed to absorb into the stillness, leaving behind an absolute tranquility. A sliver of moonlight, previously hidden by a passing cloud, now gently illuminated the corner of the room. The faint scent of lavender from the nearby sachet seemed to deepen with each breath you took. The soft wool blanket felt even more comforting against your skin, its weight a gentle reassurance. A barely perceptible shift in temperature occurred, cooling the air just slightly around you. The distant hum of the city outside faded further into an indistinguishable murmur. Your fingers relaxed completely, resting peacefully on the bedspread without any tension. The shadows lengthened imperceptibly as the night deepened its hold. A quiet stillness settled over everything, a profound sense of peace enveloping you entirely. The gentle pressure of your head against the pillow felt like sinking into a cloud of feathers. Each exhalation brought with it a deeper release, letting go of any lingering thoughts or worries.